And joining us on the carne asada is a great artist. You know his work if you've been to Dodger Stadium because his murals, by my count, and correct me if I'm wrong, Jonas, I count three, but there might be more in there. But joining us on the show is Jonas Never. Jonas, ¿cómo estás, amigo? Bienvenido.
Doing well. Thanks for having me, guys.
So, Jonas, okay, so the big story is you have that great mural that was to celebrate the 2020 World Series out in right field. And all of a sudden, we see this tarp thrown over it, and we're like, what's going on? And all of a sudden, this guy starts throwing, I don't know who leaked those pictures, Jonas, but all of a sudden, the pictures are out, and we see that Will Smith and Austin Barnes are now in the mural where Julio used to be on the mural. So, Jonas, catch us up on here. Like, who made this call? Who told you, hey, we need you to do some work?
So first, the way the Instagram works, I see murals, Dodger Stadium gone, like pretty much like, everything's burning, it's gone. And I'm like, wait a second. I see a tarp. I see our mural peeking out from underneath it. Like, it ain't gone. But the other mural that the other guys did there actually was painted over really quickly. But on that one, I think everyone's either been traded away, signed with someone else like Seager, or is on the IL like Bueller. But we still had Mookie and Kirsch on ours and Joe in the background. So when they reached out and said, look, we want to just revamp it and do something new, like, what are we thinking? I was like, well, if we keep the Mexican flag, we can do someone like Fernando. If we want to do like a new star, we could do Freddie. And then it was like, well, we want to celebrate 2020 and keep it consistent with that because the trophy's right there and all that stuff. I was like, cool. So then they pretty much were like Barnes and Smith. They were the backstops of the team. Let's run with them. And I was like, cool. I guess chance to honor some other guys who might not have gotten that kind of, probably never gotten a mural before, might never again. So it was cool to be a part of that.
Alicia, how great would it have been to keep the Mexican flag and have Fernando there? But I get what you're saying, Jonas.
Yeah.
Right, Alicia?
Yeah, absolutely. Until he mentioned that the Dodgers organization wanted to keep it 2020. I'm like, well, yeah, Fernando seems a natural, but
Yeah.
2020, that's the focus. That all makes sense, Jonas, for sure. I do appreciate that they reached out to you. Is this because they want you to be comfortable with it? They want you back? I didn't think about the precedent that other murals had replaced other players. This one just stands out so much because of the news and what's going on out here in, the civilian world outside of Dodger Stadium.
And there's so many factors.
So,
It's
were you waiting for that phone call from the Dodgers?
I was hoping for it. I was genuinely hoping that it could be continued and the relationship could continue because it's an easy way to kind of control the narrative and make it positive. And so, like, it's hard to differentiate between, like, I mean, it's probably to a much different extent. Like, can you still listen to R. Kelly song comfortably? Can you still listen to Michael Jackson? Like, separating the artist from the art is really, really, really tricky. And when I'm the one painting it, it's like, who do I really want my name to be attached to? But yeah, I figure, and like, even with the Dodgers, like, I thought Kike would have been a perfect fit on so many levels, but his contract expires at the end of this season. So it's hard to commit a mural to someone who might be gone in 2 weeks.
Wow, I appreciate that. Right, I never thought of all of that one. That's a lot.
No, I mean, and you're right, Alicia. But he brings up this other point about the art. Can you separate the artist versus the man? We use those same examples that Jonas was talking about. But Jonas, there's this thing going around Los Angeles. We had another artist. I don't know if you're familiar with him, but Slow did this great mural of Kobe and Gigi, and now they want to take down that mural because of the landlord. How often do you run across that, Jonas, where you put all your blood, sweat, and tears into this and you create this beautiful art? Because I will argue 100 times that the murals that you guys create is art. And I know people, street art, graffiti, whatever, there's a line there. But the stuff that you do is art. And for people to just so easily want to dismiss it and get it removed, I think is wrong.
It's an interesting situation that we've kind of created for ourselves. Like, so many of the good, like, I don't think a lot of us would have had the same opportunity as muralists now that we had coming up because, dude, like, I'm from Venice. Every good wall in Venice is now a painted advertisement or just a vinyl graphic. Like, people see how many eyes are on their walls and how valuable these walls are, especially during COVID. Like, when businesses weren't making any money. They were all renting out their walls for advertising space, and they're hiring artists to paint. Artists is a loose word. They're hiring, I guess, artisans or something. They're not designing anything. They're hiring them to paint it. So like, I think it's terrible. I've lost a ton of walls to ads and to gentrification to that stuff. And I know Slow, and I feel for him because I think there's a second. He's been running a ton of controversy lately with landlords and people who are just giving him hell for no reason. And dude, it's like we were gonna do a wall with Sponto from Born and Raised, and then he passed, and we ended up having to find a random wall in Venice just through friends. Dude, it was hard to find a wall to honor like a huge name in Venice because everyone else either wanted money for it or they were gonna rent out the wall to Hulu the next week or some crap like that. So it was like the landscape changing. I'm like, man, at some point I gotta go to like Arizona where you can just get walls easily.
Right. Gentrification, man. Well, I appreciate you letting us and our Bleed Los viewers and listeners understand what goes into making a piece of art. It is art. I agree with my co-host 100%. And I'm older, so I call myself a B girl. You know, back when it was first brought to our attention, like with movies like Beat Street and all that good stuff. I want to hear what about that first phone call, the first contract from the Dodgers to do your first mural there at Dodger Stadium? I mean, what was more exciting, that it was going to be at Dodger Stadium or that the Dodgers were going to pay you? Like, tell me about that.
Dude, honestly, the fact that the Dodgers even knew who I was and that like people do fan art for the Dodgers. Like people like I painted walls for free. Like me and my buddy Joyce painted that wall on Sunset a million years ago of Gibby and Fernando on some like auto parts store or something. Like when you get paid or even get the opportunity to do what you love in front of like your fans, your people, your team, like to represent like your city and your team, dude, it's like that's the coolest thing in the world. And it's not at that point. It's not even. It's nice to get some money, but like it's not like the crazy money that you get actually paying for like Netflix or the walls they're trying to go over slow. Like the Dodgers are like fair, but it's like it's more the opportunity and that you get to do what you really love. And I'm sure it's the same for you guys. Like just getting to cover the Dodgers is sometimes cooler than doing like a bigger paying gig for something you don't really care about.
No, it absolutely. I mean, Jonas,
Ding,
you
ding,
mentioned
ding.
you mentioned about you have to be careful who you're associating yourself with. I'm curious, when you're painting, when you get an assignment or you come up with an idea, do you have to have a personal connection to the subject?
I'd
Like,
say that's a good question. I have like a sliding scale, like the amount of money versus the amount I care about them, and it kind of like if you're paying me like some enough to buy a house, then I'll paint pretty much whoever you want this side of someone who's
Yeah,
like
right?
like that. But like if it's something that I want to do, like I'll fight for it. But then again, at the end of the day, if the Dodgers tell me you're paying this guy, yeah, I'm gonna listen to the Dodgers. Like I remember years ago, I got in trouble with Laker fans because Josh Hart was on the team. The Lakers told me which 4 or 5 players I was going to paint. It was like Kuz, Ingram, Lonzo, and I think LeBron. And people are like, how are you not painting Josh Hart? Like I get like all these nasty games. I'm like, dude, the Lakers told me not to paint him. Like I'm not going to listen to like I'm not going to listen to fucking like Carl and Rosita. I'm going to listen to the Lakers.
Carl and Rosita, get it together.
that's right.
No, but it's nice to have a personal connection. And it's like when JT was on the team, like Justin Turner, like him, Joe Kelly, the guys I actually Gratterall, the guys I love and like cheer for and that I have a connection to, I'm always down to paint them first. But yeah, anything with the teams, the players, the things, like I'll never paint for like the Padres or like there's certain things I'm like, nope, not happening. But like it's like you pick who, like I'd pretty much paint any Dodger that they wanted me to. Like I'm not gonna tell them no to anything, dude. It's the Dodgers.
Right on.
Well, on that same note, I love that honesty. Were you or did you have a problem covering up Julio? I know you said you were waiting for that phone call, but there we have up, if you're watching us, if you're listening, I'm sorry, to our Bleed Los listeners. Our producer Babyface just popped up the new and improved. Is that okay to call it that? Never. I mean, this is your
the remix,
gorgeous.
2.0. Yeah, whatever.
The remix. I like that.
Did
I
you
get a new
have a
iPhone this
problem?
week. That's like the new Mural. Nah, I had no problem doing it. I felt it's always weird painting over your own stuff, but things change, times change. I've had enough things I've gone over in the past, whether it be like a character getting written off a TV show. I gotta look at it this way, almost like he was a huge part of that team, and I love what he did for the Dodgers. But it's not a conversation you want fans to be having when they come to the stadium. Like you don't. It should be a positive experience all around. And I've never been a big fan of some of these theme nights, anyways, where the same people talk about stuff that's not Dodger related. It's more side project type or off the field stuff. And I'm like, dude, just focus on the team winning and cheering on the players. Like I don't want people to come and have to talk about did he or didn't he.
That's very true. So let me ask you this, Jonas. It seemed like you had a very short turnaround time. And I'm sure, look, you're an artist, man. You don't want to do a rush job. You don't want your stuff to look like crap. How much time did by the time, because not only did you have that, but then you have the new Mariachi Joe one in the right field reserve, man. I mean, do you always work fast, or are you one of those people that is very meticulous?
It's a little bit of both. It's very, very long days, like getting there first thing in the morning when the sun's coming up and the mist is still out, and paint until you really can't see right in front of you. In a perfect world, you have more time, but even when we did the first mural, I think we had like 4 days to knock out the first one, and 2 of the days were short days because we had to clear up by like 1 or 2 because Astros are coming into town. So like a lot of these are, and that's one of the things that's always tricky with like dealing with, I guess, fans, because like they don't know how long you took, they don't know what the process is like, and sometimes you'll have like 8 hours to do like a whole portrait, and it's like, dude, that might not be enough to make it to where my standards be. Mm-hmm. It's like when you see those tattoo reality shows and they're rushing to do something, they have like a 4-hour window and David Navarro's yelling at them. But like it's like it's hard, and like on this one, Barnes's mouth is like right on a pipe because I purposely positioned it the first time so there wouldn't be anything near the pipe. But now adding Barnes, so I was like trying to make sure he didn't look like he was making like a fish face. And there's just challenges that you got to where you're not dripping and spilling paint on the old stuff. Yeah, it's hard. But I also am like, I think every good artist is a little bit OCD when it comes to making sure their stuff looks right. Right. I was tripping out.
Well, I mean, yeah. Like, ooh. I heard rave reviews about Austin Barnes' eyes, so you should know that. Like, people are like, "Damn, dude, the eyes look like a photograph," and that's why, to me, like the stuff that you guys do. I mean, using a freaking spray paint can, or I don't know what other materials you used to be able to pull that off, it's art. So when
thank you.
I mean, look, I get it. This is a different situation and like that, but I kind of felt for you because I was like, you did all this work when you originally did it. Like, was that your vision? Or how much did they say, this is what we want? How much leeway did you have to be like, all right, I'm going to do my own thing. This is what I see. What do you guys think?
The first time we had a ton of leeway. Like they pretty much told the players we wanted, and then they wanted to be very LA. So my buddy Menso did like the lettering, and my friend Michelle did the car and some of the background stuff. And we wanted to kind of fit the vibe that the whole city connecting was going for. Best we could within the parameters that they kind of set up for like which player is what. But then I also had to sneak Joe Kelly onto one of the buildings in the background doing a pouty face, and we got to add our stuff, and that was a lot of fun. But it was also a super rush job. So like it wasn't like where it was planned, and we kind of improvised on the spot or first out a little bit, and I loved that. But I would have done anything to keep my artwork in the stadium. So I was happy to pivot to make sure that the artwork remained. So either way, it was better than losing the mural.
Right, Alicia?
Yeah, absolutely right. That's awesome. And my Hoko's so correct in how realistic and beautiful your murals are. And speaking on my own, in my opinion, the industry I come from, news, where so many people are in charge of telling Los Angeles stories that aren't from LA, that never leave their little bubble. I kind of have that chip on my shoulder. So I just want to give you your props that it is so, to me, my opinion, everybody, don't come at me. It's that much cooler that you are local, that you are born and raised, that you went to college. I'm seeing the shirt that you're wearing, who you're wearing. Yeah. You went to UC Riverside. Absolutely. So did Joe Kelly. That is very cool. And so it's very authentic, And so when Juan is admiring Austin Barnes' eyes, I'm just like a huge fan of all of how realistic and authentic and genuine in a world full of plastic. Like your murals really do speak to us. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And I appreciate the Dodgers letting us do actual like real like LA like letters and make it feel like LA. They didn't have some like generic like Disney stuff like what they think street art should look like on a set of some crappy movie. Like I'm glad they let like us actually use spray paint and like do letters the way we would normally. Like there's a lot of respect to them for doing that, and I thought that like they didn't have to do it, and it was really cool of them to do so.
Jonas, tell me the
Right. So
truth. Yeah, you can break news here. You and Joe Kelly, the ambassador, because he goes around wearing Bleedlow's podcast gear for us, and we didn't ask him to do it, but he does it because he's a cool guy. But do you guys have an arrangement where he goes out there and he stages this stuff just so you can have material to create murals? Because the pouty face and now the mariachi jacket, I'm starting to think that because you mentioned, some of those players on that other mural that got painted over, they're not with the team anymore. Well,
Mhm.
Joe's contract is up this year too, but is it the fact that Mariachi Joe now is just a legend, a myth, that even if he's not on the team, that mural, we're looking at it right now on the screen, like people know this. I mean, there's going to be
Yeah,
a bobblehead of this on
it's so cool.
Friday. So like, tell me about that relationship with Joe. Like, is it an impressionistic, like, this is my vision of Joe that I'm covering, or how much do you go into detail and really trying to capture the realistic aspect of it?
Honestly, guys like Joe, like he gives so much good material. Like you look at some of these other teams and like some of it just baseball in general. Some of these guys have no personality, and like during the pouty face year, like we needed a guy to stand up and fight against the Astros, against Manfred. And I look at the Angels, like Mike Trout's one of the best players in the world, but he's kind of bland to me. Like he doesn't do anything, and like Joe, for being a relatively anonymous reliever to most of the country, dude, like we all like rallied around him. He said and did exactly what we wanted. And then representing with the jacket, like trading the jacket with Grover for one of his jerseys from the mariachi band and then rocking it to the White House. Like, dude, he just does like stuff that's like so like you want to do that, but you don't necessarily have the balls to do it. Like he's that guy. And even Gratterall blowing kisses at Machado a couple of years ago. Those are the moments as like a Dodger fan and like that I can relate to more and that I want to paint. Like anyone, Kobe's the king of LA, but anyone can paint Kobe, and Kobe will be painting them. I want to get these guys that like aren't necessarily getting represented, but are also ones like, yes, that's my guy. That's more fun for me as an artist. And Joe's just the king of giving stuff to paint.
I love it.
Right, Alicia?
I agree 100%. It's so cool. And I do see that you guys hang out outside of, Dodger Stadium. Again, he's hanging out with civilians. So cool. He's a great friend to our
He's
podcast.
awesome.
And I don't know if it's too early to talk about tacos, but where do you and Joe hang out? Where do you go eat? I know he's an In-N-Out guy. Has he taken you to In-N-Out? Like, is it okay? Is this breaking news here? I don't want to put you on the spot, but I do. I want to know where you guys eat.
He loves In-N-Out, but his kids also love In-N-Out, so I don't want to add to an already huge order for him and Ashley. Where do I go? Casablanca is my spot on Lincoln and Rose. Casablanca and Venice that's my jam.
Nice. Okay.
You know what, Jonas? You mentioned the thing, and I think that is kind of something that is missing now. And I don't know, back in the day, maybe it seemed when we were younger, there were more characters in baseball. There were more people who were willing to speak their mind and say things that were out of turn. And I get it. There's a lot more money involved in a situation. But to me, it seems like you're like a real baseball fan. Like when I hear you say, like, we love Joe because he stood up to the Astros, like I felt your anger, your hatred towards that team and what happened in 2017. And I sit there, like, I was at the game last night and like Bobby Miller throws a pitch and he hits McKinstry. And McKinstry is like ready to come out, and you see everybody in the stands. All of a sudden, let's go. We're in this. We're gonna fight. And it's like, bro, relax. We're not even on the field. We're not players. But as you're like a real fan, aren't you,
dude? And and it's nice to care, but it's also like interesting to like you'll see the players after that moment. Like Freddie Freeman will be laughing at them on first, and you'll see two fans in the stands ready to go at it. Like it's like going to like a Charger Raider game. Like the dudes on the team will be getting along, and the fans will be knocking each other out 2 rows deep. Like like I still get fired up watching it. Like and also like when Gratterall waved his mom a couple nights ago, I was like, oh man, dude, that's like the human side of it's so huge. Like I compare some of these guys like Jason Kelsey for the Eagles. Like blue collar guy, like champion. Like he's more relatable to me, at least as a fan, than his brother Travis is. And I think Joe's kind of the same. Like they play through stuff. Like it's easy to like these guys.
Yeah, and so I mean, I want to be respectful of your time, so I just want to leave you with this because you're a Venice guy, and for people who know Los Angeles, like there's different parts of town. You're on the east side, it's a different makeup, and it truly is a melting pot. So I know you had a lot more say in the beginning, and I do appreciate that the Dodgers were trying to connect with the city. But one of the things that I kind of sit here and scratch my head is now looking at this new updated mural. And again, we know there's extenuating circumstances. But when it says Somos los Doyers, and I don't see any Mexicans other than Joe Kelly, and because you hit him in there.
Barnes either half.
Yeah, Barnes is half Mexican. But it is interesting to me that we now have to remove that Mexican flag. Right. And it's one of those tragedies that happens that I think really kind of speaks to everything that goes on in this city in terms of the haves and the have nots and those who pay for the repercussions, the tragedies that happen in the city. And I appreciate the fact that you tried to incorporate it in the beginning. Like, not just like people think of Los Angeles and they think of Hollywood, and that's not anybody who is from here. That's not Hollywood, man. What LA is you go to the east side, it's a completely different vibe. You go to South LA, completely different vibe. It's a microcosm. I mean,
as an artist, it's really tricky. It's super tricky because like if someone comes from like the East Coast and visits, like, oh, I'm in LA, let's hang out. I'm like, where are you? Like, I'm in Pasadena. I'm like, dude, that's like 2 hours right now. No, but like as an artist, like if I get a wall in like say Boyle Heights, there's always gonna be someone that's like, well, why didn't you get a local artist? I'm like, local, dude. It took me 6 miles to get here, but they want an artist that like lives on like Cesar Chavez. Like they want like there's like such a extenuating local thing that it's crazy. And then again, it's fine for someone from like London to get a wall in Venice. Like I'm like, pick your battles. And like as painting, like as a white dude painting like next to my buddy Fernando did the lettering, but like doing like we were talking about, like if I'm covering up a Mexican dude and painting a white dude, that's a weird subject. But then again, if I don't paint a Mexican dude, then people are gonna be like, why are you only painting white dudes? But if you do paint Mexican, like, well, why aren't you a Mexican artist? Like it's such a slippery slope. Like you're almost damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Dude.
Yeah, like, I want to paint the guys who deserve to be on the wall, or that I want to paint more than anything. Like if paint the guys you want to paint the women, depending on the subject matter, but like paint the best players, paint the ones who represent the team best, and the team represents the city. So I think the Somos Los Dodgers, like it kind of ties in, like we're all Dodger fans through and through, regardless of who actually is on the wall.
Good point. Yeah. Alicia, before we wrap things up, you got any last words for Jonas?
I love your candor, Jonas. I love that you explain to us, as someone who can't even draw stick people, all that goes into making your beautiful murals all over Southern California and globally. And I'm really sorry that sometimes it gets like that for you, because we're talking about the Dodger murals, and I know that you are a Dodger fan. I know you're a baseball fan. I know you're a sports fan. You're diehard. So I just want to apologize on behalf of Southern Californians who act like that. I'm so sorry. But also,
no, it's occupational hazard.
I do love that. Just getting to know you finally, just a little bit, how positive you are. You always want to, I don't know, take the higher road in the sense of unity, positivity. So appreciate that. But my co-host brought up the team. I feel like this year's team is super special. The Dodgers are super special. There's just something about the team. What are your predictions for this season? How far do you think the Dodgers will go?
I think we'll see Dodgers, Braves, NLCS. And it's hard. Like, I want the Dodgers to go all the way. I think this is for the first time you can have a team that's a multi-billion-dollar team be an underdog. And this is like the year with all the pitchers that have gone down for various, Gonsolin, May, Trine, and a million other guys. Like, it's crazy to think of them as underdogs, and the Braves are so good. Like, I think they could go all the way, and I hope they do. And I'd love to see the Mariachi jacket make it to the White House again. So maybe that can tie in the mural entirely.
Okay.
So there you have it.
Yeah.
Jonas, we want to thank you for taking the time. I know you're a busy man. Where can our viewers, our listeners, follow you on the social media? Where can they see your work and get in touch on whatever your next project is going to be?
On Instagram, it's just Never 1959, and see him at the stadium this week, looking right field for the Mural for the 2020 team, and then left field for the Mariachi Joe one, and then just hopefully more and more keep popping up around the city. A lot in Venice, a lot in downtown, and hopefully it keeps happening.
Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Jonas Never. Thank you so much, Jonas. Really appreciate the time.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.